Hey, what's going on? This video is the start of Classics Week. I chose 5 albums that vary from different times and or genres that are considered classics by the music canon. I know the word classic is typically opinion based, but these albums here are either underground classics for some or just overall classics that a lot of people enjoy. So the first installment of this series is Stevie Wonder's massive double album, Songs in the Key of Life. This is the 18th studio album from Stevie Wonder, one of the biggest artists of the 70s and still regarded today as one of the greatest R&B singers of all time. The time when Songs in the Key of Life came out in about 1976 was the culmination of Wonder's early work, winning consecutive Grammy Awards for Album of the Year for his albums Inner Visions and Fulfilling This' first finale. He was putting out some incredible music in the early 70s, and after a 2-year break, he returned with Songs in the Key of Life for his biggest project yet. When this album was put out, Stevie Wonder was only 26 years old. He was wise in his years, both in terms of his talent and along with his social outlook. Many of the same themes from Inner Visions appear on this album as well, but as I said about that, this is a culmination of everything that Stevie Wonder has talked about in his music, his themes. This is like put on a widescreen scale. Describing the style of this music is really tough. Of course, there's soul and funk elements throughout his career, but to claim that this was the end of it, if it was just soul and funk, that's not true. Pastime Paradise is one of the most recognizable songs of all time, but it's unrecognizable from his usual sound. Everybody knows Sir Duke, that bright and upbeat track with the triumphant horn section. And a major standout track, forgive me if I say this wrong, Gixulela es una historia, or I Am Singing. That's a major decision to sing a song in 3 different languages. Let's just drop the song. It feels otherworldly. Ebony Eyes has this piano pop song feeling that's brilliant, honestly. And that's just a glimpse of how much brightness and beauty and the production choices that go throughout this project. About 130 people worked on this album. And this really showed off how much Wonder knew how much work it would be put into this. Even if this album was seen through him and not built off of somebody else's ideas. And typically in this time period, the lead artist would do much of the heavy lifting. However, there's so much happening in Songs in the Key of Life that anybody, even if on the level of Stevie Wonder, needed to have so many people on this. It made Wonder's ideas a lot more powerful with this much people. And especially with that, the accolades really, I mean, the praise that this thing got. It was number one on the Billboard 200 charts for 13 weeks. Many tracks on this album reached number 1, and the album won Album of the Year at the Grammys. That was his 3rd time he won it already. If all of these details don't clarify the influence of Stevie Wonder throughout the 90s and even today still, you'll really be missing out. This was a massive album. This album's huge, but this album brought soul into the mainstream, like one of the biggest of all time, and even Stevie Wonder himself. And now, after this, Stevie Wonder rarely released albums. He hasn't released a lot of albums after this. And the industry moved more towards a disco sound for into the 70s. It was an album that was so massive that people must have questioned how could they follow this up? And that's probably why Stevie Wonder hasn't put out another big event album yet. Maybe even ever. So, overall, this is one of the most wholesome, fun, and amazing records from Stevie Wonder. And he has some amazing albums out there. This is a once in a lifetime album. There are not a lot of other projects like this that come out. And this is one of the greatest pop, soul, funk, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the best albums of all time that impressed me and obviously impressed a lot of other people in a way that not many records can. And now for classic reviews, these aren't scored. I feel like the term classic gives it a score in and of itself. So, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay? Okay.